Well, it's a nice sunny day, or at least it is now. This morning it was cold and frosty, and I got out to try and start this thing because I have a trip to oncology tomorrow to get treatment for multiple sclerosis, and I always do vehicle checks. Now, we could take that one, but I like to lay down, and I usually need to recover a bit afterwards, and my co-driver needs somewhere to stay, and because of COVID there's nowhere for them to do that. So I went to turn this over this morning and it couldn't happen. There's my neighbour leaving. Alright, so I went down to Super Cheap Auto, said put your battery tester on my battery, and they crawled out in the freezing cold and quite politely tested my battery and said, yeah, it's not up to 720 cca, it's way down about 300 or so. And that battery was the one that came with this vehicle when we got it a bit more than 2 years ago now. So I went for a wander to Super Cheap. Well, actually, I was already there because I had them test it, and I picked up a new battery. Now, I took a look at the range of Century batteries they've got because they're made in Australia, and I've had one of them in this thing for years and it has survived very, very well. Anyway, I ended up with a Marine battery. I was going to get one of their main standard 4x4 batteries. Marine batteries have got bigger plate locks in them. They survive the vibrations a lot better, which is good when you have a big fat Isuzu diesel that shakes the crap out of everything. Anyway, it's also 780 cca, which is a bit more than the 720 or 735 that with the other options. And they have these little auxiliary posts in here that you can screw other terminals to, which is nice because I have a few things going on under the bonnet. Anyway, this is on charge at the moment, and we have a PC21 in the background that you can hear, and it's come up to float charge, so we're doing well. Hello, roulette. Okay, sorry about whipping the camera around there, guys, but it's interesting stuff. All right, so that's come up to float charge. It's good. We know things are happening really well. Let's go get this bonnet up and get this thing changed. I think one of my bonnet my bonnet bushes is out of whack. I'll have to fix that later. For the moment, it'll hold out for this job. All right, now the difference between the 4x4 and the 6x6 variants. The 6x6, they put twin tanks. They put a tank under each seat. The 4x4, they've got a battery under the passenger seat and a fuel tank under the driver's. This has got the battery in the front here, and it's also got power steering. So which the steering knuckle and everything is under there. It's very hard to get to adjust. I was trying to get in there to adjust that, but I found out it's actually my tie rod ends that are gone. Anyway, we're going to pull these two batteries off. These additional terminals, depending on what I've done to those, they may go on the additional post on the new battery. I might just leave them on these for now, re-terminate and fix it later. For now, I need to find a socket to fit this and get these two hooks off and get the new battery in here. Now, there's one company I should approach for sponsorship, and that's Barco. If you've got $100 to spare, get a set of these things from Barco. They're ratchet spanners that are bi-directional, and they have two different size sockets on each one, so you get everything from about 8mm to 19mm in this the one set of 3 spanners. They are just a really handy roadside rescue tool, and they do include 10mm, which is what we use for this. And they've got a fine enough ratchet that when you've got literally nowhere to move, you can still get a couple of clicks out of them in this tiny little space. We've just got to get this loose enough that I can undo it with my fingers. We're going to be here for a little bit. Alright, so I've made sure to isolate everything inside, including the 24-volt system, because it also shares a ground. What are we, 12? We want 13mm for these. That's the one. That's doing up. Undo. Reverse of what I usually do. Alright. You got to be careful about an uninsulated spanner and touching from the positive terminal to ground. And it can happen on this because that is connected to ground. Originally this had been put into the terminals the other way around. They put insulation on this. I'm like, guys, just spin the battery round. Let's take that spanner away so I don't absent-mindedly contact anything. Right, there's our terminal. If you can probably tell, there's some aftermarket bits that I've added in here. All right, let's get our frame off. This is another short circuit potential here. Now we need to get this hook out of the way. Now we can maneuver this around a little more safely, but it's still risky because you can go zap across the terminal the battery's right about now. All right, now we lift our old one out. I'm going to take my antenna off that I've got right here because I don't want to snap it off. I put cheap antennas on here because people steal them. All right, that is a heavy battery. All right, this is the point where we check that our terminal's in the correct position. So we're making sure that this is forwards. That is our positive terminal is going to pick up from there. Our negative is going to go from there. That's good. Get everything out of the way. All right. And I'm leaving the protective caps on for good reason. Keep in mind this is about 40 kilos of battery. It's not the lightest of batteries. All right, I didn't bring my Leatherman out with me, but we need to snap these wing nuts off here. There we go. Take them off, we'll use them in a minute. At least the handles on these are good. Now the reason we leave them caps on is for this bit right here. The chance of shorting it out is greatly reduced. Yeah, see, this fits the frame properly as well. Now the other rod on the other end had actually been threaded through the hole the wrong way around, so I had to remove the entire thing. When we put it back on, we'll put it back in the right way around. I'm much happier about this frame being on square. We'll check the ratings of the old battery in a minute too. What were we? These were a 10 mil. Flip this bit. Again, the caps are going to save my bacon a little bit here. Anyway, you don't go overboard. That's a better word, isn't it? Overboard. Don't go overboard with the terminals here. That battery bay is a little bit wobbly. The whole thing is, but that's okay. Don't over tighten them. Let's pull our caps off. We'll do one at a time. I'm going to get this hot wire. Actually, what we're going to do a negative wire first. Oh, these battery terminals are a slight bit bigger. Well, they can go on the top of the post for now because I need them to work, and we can get bigger terminals later. Now, these battery terminals are actually a smidgen further apart than the old ones. This will be interesting. I've got to find a knife. Problem with proper cable looming is when you have to change things. Alright, that should fit. And again, as I said, we will work on these threaded auxiliary posts later. I am going to put a nut on this one so I can get it on there. Ironically, that nut is going to get in the way. Well, I guess it's not going to rattle off if that's in the way of it. Yep. Not ideal, but it's how it's going to be. There's my 13 mil again. We definitely need to clean them posts up. This is our positive terminal, and you hear that clang? That was me touching the chassis, and I just got lucky there was a bit of paint to stop that from shorting. All right. Yeah, that's probably not the right post. We'll get some new terminals for this later. I've forgotten to put that one on. I'll put it in a bag in the back. I have a spot where I put those things. This is the Anderson plug that runs the radio, and yes, it has a fuse. Now we need some zip ties to tie our loom back down. Now at some point in the future I will migrate these to those terminal posts and clear these up nicely. That will actually help with disconnecting auxiliary circuits in the future. Now we want to just arrange these up here a little bit. Actually, I'll add an extra zip tie just here, because what demonstrated to me this morning is that I put my auxiliary battery up here and I hooked it up directly to the Anderson plug to jump start it, and it wasn't quite long enough, so that will give me that extra inch that I need. Alright, well I think we're pretty well done. Let's go and see how it starts. Now we're inside the dash here. We'll have a quick look at something. This is my dual voltage meter. This is the solar charging for the 24 volt system. It's a 12 volt system. Previously, when I drop a battery in, it'd never get above about 12.6. In fact, it hasn't been the entire time we've had it. Now we're sitting at 13.2. First thing you normally hear is when you turn it on, you hear the fuel pump servo, and that's going a lot quicker than normal. See how quickly it starts. That's a whole lot better starting than it used to be. And battery volts are sitting nicely at 14.5 under the alternator load. That's good, means everything's charged, and it means the alternator's not working as hard either. So I think all round we've had a win. Let's go have a look at our old battery. Alright, so our old battery is a Platinum Power 2000, and it didn't list the CCA on the top, and it doesn't on the side. It's a maintenance free, so the lack of a CCA rating tells me it's probably a cheap one. 18-month warranty or 24-month warranty in commercial use with proof of purchase. Well, we don't have that. I don't know how old this is, but I know it's at least 2 years old, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't new when we picked up the vehicle. And generally when I get a new vehicle, the first thing I do is replace the battery, and this one tested okay when we picked it up. I haven't really thought about it until I had some issues starting. So anyway, preventative maintenance, we're on top of it now. So the Century brand batteries, I've never had any real issue with. They've always been very reliable batteries, even with a bit of abuse. So yeah, it looks good. Anyway, that's a straightforward and simple battery change. So there'll be more on it later when I replace those terminals and do up the wing nuts and all the rest. But yeah, anyway, interesting video, I hope. See you in the next one.